Before we dive into this discussion, comment where you're watching from. And don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. This clip features two heated exchanges over Donald Trump's recent interview. Ana Navarro and Caroline Sunshine clash over what happened, while Charles Blow and Hal Lambert square off with very different interpretations of the same event. As the debate unfolds, the conversation quickly moves beyond the interview itself and turns into a broader argument about media, politics, and public perception. Let's watch the key moments and break them down.
Give
Kristen,
me a break.
What do you mean give me a break? Kristen Welker this week.
It's Kristen.
Caitlin Walker,
I'm
Caitlin
sorry.
Collins last
I've
week.
worked with
The woman
Kristen
he
when I
called
worked
Piggy.
at the White House.
Will you give me a break?
Say
Have
that
you
you're
no
going up
shame
against
as a woman
No.
that we hear
Kristen
him
was
call them
tougher
ugly
on-
and piggy and
Kristen
crooked
was
and
tougher
liars
on him
and
in
stupid
that
and bad
interview
journalists?
than I have
Have
seen
you
most-
absolutely
that's
no
probably the
solidarity with
toughest
women?
interview.
Votes were cast in Georgia because I live in Georgia. I want to get you live.
And I lived in Arizona.
That's a lot. Okay, first of all,
I lived in
we can't
Arizona.
have this
There was
conversation.
not
We
a
can't
lot
have
of
this conversation.
Arizona.
This man just said that there were thousands of
The more you guys yell there's no fraud, the more likely there was fraud.
No,
It's
you are,
amazing.
no, the more, and I want to know if you think there was the rigged. I want to know if we're sitting here with two election deniers.
Just a second.
Do you think it's rigged as well?
You tell me there's no fraud in anything? Medicare, Medicaid, H-1B visas, nothing.
You have no source, and you're going to get louder and louder.
Good evening. I'm Abby Phillip in New York. Let's get right to what America is talking about. President Trump's monumental meltdown. Tonight, the walls appear to be closing in on the president. His war in Iran is as unpopular as ever as it stretches into its 100th day. Americans are worried about their finances more than ever before, and he's suffered a series of legal losses that are throwing his priorities for a loop. And his own party is now fiercely pushing back on some of his agenda. It all comes to a head during this interview with NBC's Kristen Welker on Meet the Press this weekend. Welker pressed Trump on a number of conspiracy theories, first about January 6th rioters, then the lie that California's election is rigged. But instead of responding with evidence or proof of any kind, Trump resorted to insults and smears before he stormed off altogether.
You know that these elections are rigged. Your network knows that they're rigged. You know that I won an election in a landslide, and I got 94% bad press.
But, Mr. President,
you know why I
you've
got
never
that?
presented
Because you have no
evidence.
credibility.
But you've never presented evidence that it was rigged. Let's keep talking about, I want to talk about Todd
You
Blanche.
have more evidence. There's more evidence than ever presented.
Let's talk
Your
about...
elections
You
in
went
this
to
country,
court.
we're like a third world country.
But, sir-
Your elections are crooked, and you're crooked, and
But,
Meet the Press is crooked,
Mr.
and so
President-
is ABC, and CBS, and CNN.
But, Mr. President-
You're one-sided crooked networks. All right, let's call it quits, because I've had enough. Thank you, darling. Have a good time.
Mr. traveled all the way to Wisconsin for this interview.
One of the most revealing things about that exchange is that she kept asking for proof. There was no proof being put on the table. And when the president attacks the media, calling them biased, it's usually because they're correcting him on some very obvious falsehoods, like the one that he tried to repeat in that interview, Charles.
Like, the president wants to say this. You have to let me lie without interrupting me. You have to let me lie and not push back on it. And if you don't give me that kind of coverage, then I do not like the media. And the other thing that the president does is that he substitutes himself for the country all the time. I think people really have to really be careful when they listen to him, because as an authoritarian thing, when he says that they are the enemy of the country, he really means that they are the enemy of me because they won't let me lie. When he says that people are attacking the country, he really means that they are attacking him. The substitution is a very real thing that happens with Donald Trump in the way that he communicates. And I think everybody needs to pay attention to that.
Why can't Trump take corrections, tough questions? Why can't he put proof on the table of his assertions?
Well, I think you watch the president more than anybody, and I hope everybody at this table would be honest about the fact that the president of the United States takes more tough questions on a daily basis than just about any other president in the modern era. Certainly the last one that we had. Oh, no, I think he should do this two to three times a week. This was a great interview.
Storm out of interviews?
Oh, no, absolutely, because the president's base and most of the country still views the mainstream media as very biased against them. They feel very demonized by the media. They feel very misunderstood by the media. They don't feel like the mainstream media has done enough.
That wasn't the question I asked. Why won't he present
to try to
actual proof of the thing that he's claiming?
Can I talk about that? Because that's always the comeback. Where's the evidence?
Yeah, because
the evidence is this.
If you're going to claim fraud, there should be some evidence.
Okay.
That's
the
why.
evidence is this. You have a California system that enables fraud to happen easily. You don't have voter ID. You have mass mail-out ballots. You have voter cards.
That's not evidence.
That's not proof.
Time out.
That's just a description
Okay, can I
of,
just
of
like
an
finish?
electoral system.
It's an electoral system that's ripe for fraud.
Ripe for fraud is
Ripe
not
for
fraud.
And then you
that
have
is not fraud.
No, but then you have statistical anomalies where you have Rahman, who was third place, was getting 20% of the vote, and then the vote after the election day, she gets 40% of the vote.
So
I don't
that's a total
speculation is also not proof.
Hold on just one second, because I just want
infuriating to watch people try to make speculation into proof.
We are going to spend
not speculation,
a
that's
whole
data.
segment.
That is not data.
We're going to spend a whole
That is
segment
not
on the
data.
California race in just a moment. So we're going to talk through some of the stuff that you're talking about there. But I actually think that we can boil it down much more simply than this. Trump falsely believes that he won the 2020 election that he lost. When he is challenged on that, he gets upset and he storms out of an interview. Explain that one.
They were talking about the mayoral race in California, and he was talking about the fraud there, the rigged election there.
Okay.
That's what they were
It's rigged? You believe it's rigged?
But
I do believe it's rigged.
Oh, my God. We can wrap this show up.
100% rigged.
We can wrap this show up.
He also was talking about his favorite obsession, which is 2020.
What's that?
In that exchange, he also was talking about the election that he lost in 2020.
Well, he talked
You know
about the
that, right?
95%. He also got mad because he has
So,
90%.
what's the explanation for that?
95% negative press coverage. He's sitting there in a negative press interview.
What does press conference have to do with the fact that she asked for proof of fraud?
Here's the thing about the president. When he was candidate Trump and they had the primary and he lost to Ted Cruz, the first thing he said was it was rigged. And he insisted that the state officials change the actual results of that primary. You remember that. And Ted Cruz was very upset by that because he called Ted Cruz a liar. That was what, 10 years ago. So to characterize this conversation without an understanding of who he has been, I think is unfair to the conversation we're supposed to be having now. He's always done this.
Caroline also suggested that Trump loves taking tough questions, but here is his very real history of not taking tough questions that he doesn't like. Listen.
Your first statement was, are you ready for tough questions?
Are you?
That's no way to talk. It's no way to talk. I think we have enough of an interview here, Hope. Okay, that's enough. Let's go. Let's go. The only way it's not going to happen again is you have to solve the problem of the presidential rigged election of 2020.
Mr. President, if I'm...
Wait,
one more question.
The woman that you said was a great doctor in that video that you retweeted last night said that masks don't work and there is a cure for COVID-19, both of which health experts say is not true. She's also made videos saying that doctors make medicine using DNA from aliens and that they're trying to create a vaccine to make you immune from becoming religious.
Well, maybe it's the same, maybe it's not.
Last week, well, real quick. Last week
Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
Okay. Listen,
Okay,
There's
no.
hold on, because I haven't spoken. There's two different things that I think need to be addressed in the clip that we saw from the Meet the Press interview. The first is him alleging that he didn't lose the 2020 election. Trump and his team filed over 60 challenges in court and lost every single one of them. So there is no evidence that held up in court. That's number one issue. The second issue, which to me is just as horrible and needs to be discussed, is his consistent berating and insulting and ad hominem attacks, particularly against women. Whether it's
Give
Kristen,
me a break.
What do you mean give me a break? Kristen Walker this week.
Discredits Kristen.
Caitlin Walker,
I'm
Caitlin
sorry.
Collins last
I've
week.
worked with
The woman
Kristen
he
when I
called
worked at
Piggy.
the White
Will
House.
you give
For
me
you
a
to
break?
say
Have
that
you
you're
no
going up
shame
against
as a
those
woman
No.
that we hear
Kristen
him
was
call them
tougher
ugly
on-
and piggy and
Kristen
crooked
was
and
tougher
liars
on him
and
in
stupid
that
and bad
interview
journalists?
than I have
Have
seen
you
most-
absolutely
that's
no
probably the
solidarity with
toughest
women?
interview I've
Oh
seen
my
him
God, I
face
can't believe you
to
sit
date.
here and tell
He
me to give
pushed
you a
up
break.
against
But
her
in
hold on.
this
because she was a
network,
tough
we hear
journalist.
him
Hold on,
Not because
tell
she was a
our
woman.
journalist that
let me let
she's
her
not
finish,
fit to
because
be
she
a
didn't finish her
journalist
thought.
because she doesn't smile. How dare you tell me to give you a break? Have some shame.
Why would
don't
the
you?
president tell a woman that she doesn't smile enough when she's working, asking him a question?
Because he's an equal opportunity offender, and let's not pretend. Let me explain how the game.
Give me another example of.
Let me explain how the game. Let me explain how the game works.
Give me an example of him being equal opportunity.
Let me explain how the game works, because Caitlin got something out of that exchange too.
Caroline.
The president gets a lot out of having combative exchanges with journalists. His base loves it. His poll. That's why I said he should do 2 to 3 more of these a week. His poll numbers go up. But Caitlin's getting something out of it too. So many journalists have made their careers in this country off of being combative with President Trump, Caitlin Collins included, Jim Acosta, many former people. It is all part of the game. It is all part of the theater. She's tough. She can
why is it a game
But
to
the
you?
fact that you guys are going to call this a woman problem, Kristen did one of the toughest interviews I have seen someone do with the president up to date.
And he walked up
she
and
deserves
left
credit
because
for that.
he couldn't
But
take it.
He didn't push back.
She
She's
flew
a
all
woman.
the way to
He didn't push
Wisconsin,
back.
left
It was tough
her, and
questions. Grow up.
went to do her job. No, the guy needs to grow up. He's the president of the United States. He needs to grow up, and instead of walking out, having
How many interviews did Biden do? How many interviews did Biden do?
And how much did you criticize him?
Did an interview.
Okay, Biden is back in the White House. We can discuss it.
The Biden is like a reflex.
Jesus.
It's the truth.
Then just
So the 2020 election.
Biden, blah, 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 Biden,
Guys,
blah, 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 blah,
one at a
blah,
time,
Biden.
please. LZ, you were making a point.
Look, I get it. You want the president to look good.
I get it. You want to talk about 2020. I mean, I'm bringing up
he
Biden.
does.
I actually brought up 2015 when he started beginning the lies
You did that too.
about talking about how elections have been stolen. I was just letting you know there's a pattern here that's been 2 years long. That's why I brought that up. But to the point I'm trying to say right now is that what do you want this nation to gravitate towards? The behavior that we've seen in which you berate women, or behavior in which you learn how to negotiate with someone that you don't agree with, but you don't need to yell or get up and beat them at an interview.
It's the one way that you
So
will berate women because apparently
let me
it's
ask
good
you
for
this,
your
because
image.
I hear you pushing
That's the
back
talk,
on LZ and Anna and suggesting that maybe this is somehow about Joe Biden, which it's not. Are you comfortable with Trump being challenged on something and rather than defending his point, just simply storming off of
Look,
an interview?
he did defend his point. She kept on and on with the same
How did
question.
he defend it?
What did he defend?
He said that he thought
Where's
the
the
election
proof?
was rigged. He answered the
Yeah,
question.
and she asked for proof, and he provided
But
what?
it goes back. He talks about what I just said. If you look at the whole election
You did
system
what you
in
said didn't make any
California,
sense.
Of course it does.
No,
Look,
it doesn't make any
listen,
sense.
and
it's not a fact.
I just want to
and
be
it's
clear.
not proof.
It is a fact.
I just
It's
want to
not
be clear.
proof.
We are going to tackle what you were saying about California because there is no proof of what
There
you're
is
saying
no
about
proof.
California. But in this particular segment, I want to deal with the long-running Trump obsession, which he also brought up in that interview, with his loss in 2020, which he has now tasked the government with trying to validate, even though there's no proof of it. Why is it that when he is challenged on that, he can't answer for it?
Well, look, we know there were, after the fact, we know there were problems in Arizona. We know there were problems in Georgia.
my God.
We know after investigation.
they?
You can't prove that in 45
what
days.
were they,
okay?
Hal? It's been 6 years.
What were they?
What were the problems?
There were problems with the voters in Georgia. They
What
found
were-
Where's the fraud?
voters that were
Where's the fraud?
There was no problem
How
in
many
Arizona.
fraudulent votes were cast in Georgia? Because I live in Georgia. I want to hear you lie
And
about
I
this.
lived in Arizona.
That's a lot. Okay, first of all,
I lived in
we can't
Arizona.
have this
There was
conversation.
nothing
We
wrong
can't have this
with Arizona
conversation.
either.
This man just said that there were thousands of
The more you guys yell there's no fraud, the more likely there was fraud.
No,
It's
the
amazing.
more that you lie, the more we're going to push back on the fact that you are
81
lying.
million votes.
The Heritage Foundation keeps the largest database on voter fraud.
This is so
of
ridiculous.
anybody.
I want to walk off
They keep
this.
30. They keep.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I got to finish this point.
Hold on a
They
second.
keep 30 years. They've tracked 32 elections, 100 million votes. They have found 39 total cases
That's so absurd.
of voter
It's
fraud.
so
well, you
absurd.
so
That's
so
absurd.
you the Heritage Foundation is
Where's your
absurd.
proof?
absurd.
Where's your proof?
Where's your
I just cited my source. What is your source?
I got a question for
I
you.
just cited no, because I don't want
Wait,
to.
hold on,
I want to
Hal.
know what your source
hold on,
is.
Hal. You said
What
it's
is your
absurd.
source?
Why is it
Mine is
absurd?
the
Here's why
Heritage
it's absurd.
Foundation.
Do you think there's no H-1B visa
Where
fraud?
is your source?
Do you think there's no
You
Medicare
don't-
fraud?
You don't have
Do you think
any
there's
source.
no home health care
Then-
fraud?
and this
Can
is
you
the-
let me finish? and
You are
speak?
not saying a source.
Guys.
You are not saying a source.
There's fraud all over
Where
the
is
federal
your
government. There's
source?
fraud all over the states from
Where is
federal
your
funding.
source?
And yet there's no voter fraud?
Hold on a
Are you
second.
kidding me?
What is
The
your
idea
source?
that you're sitting here trying to convince
there
us
Medicare
based
fraud or
on
not?
no source whatsoever
Is there Medicare
to
fraud?
to trust your word and trust the president's word when we know he is lying. And I want to know if you think that was the rigged. I don't know if we're sitting here with two election deniers.
Just a second.
Do you think it's rigged as well?
Tell me there's no fraud in anything. Medicare, Medicaid, H-1B visas, nothing.
You have no source, and you're going to get louder and louder, and it's still not going to work.
California won't allow the federal government to
louder and louder, and it's still not going to work because you don't have a single source for your whole body.
Stop talking. Guys, stop talking. Because y'all are talking so loud. But to be honest, Hal, you're not saying anything.
Okay, I think I am.
No, you're
see what the viewers think.
Caroline,
they won't let the federal government even audit their
hold on a
rolls.
second. Caroline wants to have a quick word, and then we're going to go to
By the way, I would just add, the president has agreed to do a second interview with Kristen Welker, which doesn't surprise me at all. So Kristen will have her own time to, I'm sure, ask him for further evidence. It's like, you've been upset about this.
And that's really the biggest takeaway from this debate. The strongest arguments aren't the loudest ones. They're the ones backed by evidence. Throughout this exchange, both sides made passionate claims, but viewers ultimately have to judge which arguments were supported with facts and which relied more on opinion or political messaging. One point that continues to divide people is the debate over election integrity. Supporters of Donald Trump argue that raising concerns about elections is a legitimate political issue, while critics contend that repeated claims without sufficient evidence can undermine public confidence in the electoral process. That's why this topic remains so contentious years later. Whatever your political views, discussions like these are a reminder of how important it is to separate evidence from rhetoric. In a polarized political climate, it's easy for every debate to become about personalities instead of facts. The real challenge is evaluating the claims being made and deciding which ones are supported by the available evidence. What do you think? Did one side make a more convincing case? Or do you think both sides missed key points? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss the next one.